Sun's out, and I actually brought my convertible today
Oh,
to
great.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
top down and
okay.
drive home.
Yeah, when I was in
Great.
college, I called in December and said, and my dad said, "Oh, son, it's so bad. It's 100 and some degrees there, and I'd be freezing in breath."
Okay, we ready?
Yeah, we're recording.
Okay. So, my name is William Wells, and I would like to have you introduce yourself, sir.
Paul Vlahos,
Paul
I'm
Walker.
at.
Okay.
And Henry Jones.
Okay, Paul, what do you do? Where do you work for?
Where he is in
Well,
that.
with I'm at Inc., a company we started a while back. Before that, of course, was Ultimate Corporation, and we've been in the motion picture and television industry, innovating. You know, personally, I act as an inventor, and it's a great life out here.
Okay, all right. Henry, tell us about what you do.
I'm a technical reviewer, oceanographer, hydrologist, meteorologist for the headquarters at Nuclear Regulatory Commission.
Okay, great. Well, now have either one of you heard of First Robotics?
I've heard of robotics, not necessarily first robotics, but I've heard of robotics programs.
Okay.
Tell us a bit. I'm sure a lot of us haven't heard
Well,
anything.
okay. Well, First Robotics, the first acronym stands for Inspiration and Research of Science and Technology. They have 4 levels: Junior FLL, which are grades K through 3. Then they have FLL, which stands for First Lego League, and those are grades 4 through 8. And then you go to FTC, which is First Tech Challenge, middle school, high school, and then FRC, which is high school. So this year, since you're a meteorologist and you'll like this year was about natural disasters. So the little kids had a program called Disaster Blaster. And since you're out in LA, where you said you drove your convertible in, and we're here in Kansas City with digging out from under 9 inches of snow, which I consider to be a natural disaster, I would just like to tell you guys a little bit about the program and get your feedback on what you think about it, okay? First Robotics has these core values, and the core values are, we are a team. Paul, what does that mean to you, to be a team?
From on my end of the business, you discover that you have people that are idea people, okay, and that gives some direction. But an idea guy without people that know how to do things is useless. So you'll have another guy who understands electronics. He can lay out a circuit board. You got another guy that knows how to actually make the blocks of what each of those areas are going to do, the actual functionality.
Okay.
You got another guy that does the firmware of the hardware, and then a mechanical guy. And as a team, you can actually concretize these ideas into something that's real, tangible, that actually does something.
Right. Okay.
And it takes a team to be able to do that.
Everything successful, it takes everybody to do their part, and you depend on the other person to fill their role and bring together a finished product, is what I'm hearing.
It's the only thing that succeeds in the real world.
Great. Believe that. What does it being a team mean to you, and how does it, your job?
It's very similar. Of course, I did 28 years in the military, and it's exactly the same way. You know, you have people who are specialists or on a ship or a submarine, then if one person fails to do their job, you can lose the whole ship. The same thing in the civilian world, or where I do a nuclear power, you may have terrestrial ecologists, you have the hydrologists, you have the meteorologists, you have the health physicists, you have the structural engineers. All of them in a plethora of other people goes into looking at the safety of the reactor. So it takes a whole team to actually evaluate maybe a nuclear power site, just like it takes a whole team, whether you're Air Force, Navy, or Army, to make a mission successful.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, this next core value is pretty self-explanatory, but I'd like to get you guys' feedback on it. We do the work. What does that mean to you and your business?
What you do should have something that other people want.
Mm-hmm.
That is the measure of success, really, isn't it?
That I believe so. You agree with that?
I agree with that.
Agree with that. Well, there's a couple of ways you can either do the work to just get it done, or you can do the work and take pride in the work that you do. Right?
Exactly. The
Isn't
military-
that's something that's learned now, isn't it?
Pardon me?
That's something that's learned. I mean, there's a lot of societal issues involved with that. I mean, we've got situations where, I mean, there's no such thing as work that somebody should not be proud of,
Right.
because all of it is there adding to that, like a team member, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'd be surprised how important it is just to keep the machinery clean. you know, it'll stop working. And yet you might look at that guy who's doing the cleaning and say he's kind of the low man on the totem pole, but try living without him.
Couldn't do it.
No.
That makes sense.
No. And
That makes sense.
I cut this and William, because otherwise he has his hands on your lap.
Okay. All right.
Paul, you little go back with the your chair.
All right. There we go. Okay.
On these days, we're okay with it.
Yeah.
All right, now it looks cool.
Next core value is our coaches and mentors help us learn, but we find the answers ourselves. So, Paul, do you do any mentoring or have interns in your business, and how do you handle?
Yes, of course. You know, they always talk about the youth. Every new generation is basically uncivilized, and whether they become civilized is based upon the older ones that have been through it themselves. You know, the interesting story. I was keeping chickens, and I only had I ordered a bunch of little ones from the hatchery, and the roosters were absolutely unbearable. They just would beat up everybody, including us. We'd have to go out there with a broom to knock them away. They'd attack you.
Really?
And I finally ended up just getting rid of all the roosters until there was a rooster down the street that got into the yard and sort of took over. He was amazing. The way he took care of the hens was remarkable. When the new little ones were born, he would look out for them, protected them. He was great to all the people that were around him.
Mm-hmm.
And every single rooster after that he raised was totally civilized.
Wow.
It was remarkable. All the fighting, the blood was gone, the attacking of people was gone. You know, and so you can see it how it is. It's sort of passed on from the older generation to the younger generation, and it has to do with everything. It isn't just, you know, it isn't just how to fix a car. It's also, you know, on some of these moral and ethical issues. Teaching what virtue is, for example. It's an important part of mentoring. But yeah, we have to do it.
You have to show them the way, and if you show them the way the right way, then you will lead the next generation. And
Well, yeah, our ego's needed anyways. Because we get older, we get kind of useless, you know. So that we use that to justify our existence, I think.
That's a good spin on it. So, Henry, you've given up your time to come to Kansas City from DC, and I asked you to stay over extra day, and you talked to the kids, and even on your keynote speech Saturday night, you talked about how you guys roll up your sleeves. Engines, people that are third in command in the Navy will come down and help the kids with math. Tell me about that and how fulfilling that is for you.
Well, it is for us because most of us understand, especially in the military, the first day when you're in that boot camp, you realize you can't succeed by yourself. And you're looking at people who are leaders, the people who are upperclassmen, people who are upper officers, and you look at them as examples of what you're supposed to be. And sometimes you have bad examples, sometimes you have good examples. Hope that you can learn from the good and the bad. Because it's not always the good leadership that you learn from. Sometimes you learn from the bad management and leadership too. I remember I had a professor from University of Southern California, and he said every time he tried to make a decision, he would think of this one chemistry professor he had, and he said, what would he do? And then he'd think what he would do, and he would do the opposite. Because the guy was just, you know, poor in his decisions, a poor leader. So sometimes, you know, a great leader will teach you how to do things, but actually seeing someone with poor leadership, if it's, you know, you learn from that, you can see how it's not to be done. And so it's important, mentoring is important that the people see that people were just like them at one time that age are coming back and look how successful they've done, but they've been through the same process they have, that it's possible. You know, and they need to see that. They need to see people who have actually lived in the same city, gone to the same schools, you know, faced the same problems, maybe gangs, maybe some other problem, drugs or whatever, but they're able to succeed in the same environment. And they need to hear that from the people.
It seems
You know,
like that's...
William,
Yes, sir.
you know, along those same lines, when kids are young, I think one of the things that's so difficult is to find something that strikes you to the point where that you're willing to devote a huge amount of time and energy. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the classic things is a teacher comes along and is able to actually instill that enthusiasm for whatever subject they're into, because many times that's just what catches a kid on fire, to where that he's willing to start devoting himself to that kind of discipline, that kind of focus, that kind of energy. into one channeled into one direction because it gives them so much. And a lot of times that is the role of many of our teachers and other mentors and so forth is, is to show that there's something so worthwhile that you can literally devote a lifetime to it and you get a lot of rewards from it.
It seems like that's in this today's digital age of everything here and now, and everything has to be microwaved and ready immediately, that's a value that hasn't been passed on, that I'm sure when we were kids, we had always, each of us had somebody that was willing to take time to work with us to help us get to where we are. I think that's some good stuff from both of you. Thank you for that. We share our experiences and discoveries with others. What does that mean to you?
Well, it's a fine line you got to draw, isn't it? Between the guy that's sitting there bragging about all the stuff that he's done, he can't stop talking about anything but himself and what he's done. Just bore everybody silly because, when you get older, it's hard to keep track of what you told the guy, and maybe he's heard it the third or fourth time, and now he's rolling his eyes. I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know how to answer that.
Okay, well, let you take a stab at that.
Well, being an old sailor, we like telling sea stories, and that's how you share your experiences. Many times listen to the old salts. And even as a kid, the guys in the barber shop, you listen to your dad and them discuss things, you overhear things, their experience. It may be about marriage or something,
Right.
and you learn, and by sharing those experiences, sometimes like you said, you can actually excite people.
Mm-hmm.
They go, wow,
That's
I
true.
want to do that. I want to go to Taiwan. I want to go to this place. Wow, you saw that? Whoa, I want that adventure. And I think that's it helps. If you keep it to yourself, the kids, they never knew. Like you said, sometime later they go, wow, you did what? I never knew you did that.
Yeah.
So you need to share these experiences with them so that they in turn may be inspired to try to get similar experiences.
And what we try to do in our robotics program, Paul and Henry, is the first core value is we're a team, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we tell our kids it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, and they give you a trophy or a banner, but what does matter is what you learn along the way. And whatever you learn along the way, you should be willing to share that
That's
with
right.
the other teams, because if you can look at this water from several different viewpoints, and if you have all those viewpoints laid out on the table, then you're able to see the complete picture.
Exactly.
And so that's kind of how we address it.
Like I say, it's it's fun to tell stories. I think it's true that the youth have a tendency to want to hear you more than your family, for sure.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good perspective to talk about the things that you've done. I think it's sometimes interesting to talk about the things the way they were and how they've changed as a result of the things that we've done. People get a kind of an idea of how much change can occur in one person's lifetime, and how that you can be an instrument as part of that change. It's very exciting doing the new. I mean, I've devoted my whole career